Hello everyone, it's your boy Kei Natsuki here, back at it again with another new spanking hot what if video. And today is something no one was expecting. Now a couple of minutes ago, maybe like 30, 20, or even 15, I don't know. I just released a post telling you guys of a new what if. And giving you a clue. Obviously, I like doing this, and it's going to happen a lot more in the future. I'm like doing that, giving you guys clues, and you guys having to solve what the what if is. So there will definitely be a lot more of that in the future. Now, let us begin our... Well, this what if is what if Deku awakened a ancient evil. What type of ancient evil? Or which type? You'll get it soon enough. But anyways, in this, we begin our story many years ago. As it is... Hold on. Sorry about that. But we begin our story not exactly in Japan. Well, I mean, it is in Japan. Just a forgotten part. As it is underground. Billions of many miles below the surface of the ground. Even it is so low that there's actually a ginormous tunnel that leads, that's sort of like a giant catacombs or labyrinth, and it's like temple, leading all the way from Japan to Europe, or Camelot. Now, we begin our story in this place. As we see a grouping of men, warriors clad in armor, as they are rushing through with torches and horses, rushing through this dungeon or underground castle. As we see these men rushing through, running over cobwebs, spiders, and all sorts of things. As the leader of this grouping is none other than the legend himself, King Arthur. As he then says, men, secure the perimeter. We cannot let her escape. If she does, she'll use her spell and cast the whole world into eternal darkness. And then she'll devour the souls of everyone. They understood. Now the men understood as they nodded. They then creeped up the long and dark hallways of this castle, this underground castle, which is very purple and gray, and black. Don't forget black. As they then reach a throne room, where they then see a woman with long, flowing black hair. Hold on. Where they then see a beautiful woman looking like this. As she then says, King Arthur, to what do I owe the displeasure? Don't you know to not barge in on others' homes? As King Arthur then says, cut the act, witch, and cut the act, demon. We know what you're planning. And we're here to stop you, says King Arthur. As she then says, very well then. as she would then summon a blade out of thin air, as the shadows around her would begin moving, as lightning bolts would, and as lightning and electricity would form around her. The only problem was that these bolts looked like they were made of the universe, with stars and galaxies in between. As she then said, "Come, King Arthur, and die!" As suddenly, hands made of shadow rise from the floor. Now, pause the video, and tell me, who do you think is this woman already? This ancient evil. Now, of course, albeit this is her before she's sealed away and her mortal body rots to nothing. Her mortal body ages to nothingness. But anyways, King Arthur then rushes at the woman, and King Arthur then rushes at the woman with Excalibur in hand, but she blocks with a cutlass that looks like it's with a katana that looks like it's made out of the galaxy. As she then says, "King Arthur, your form is off. Your form is awful. I expected more from the legendary King of Heroes." As she then said, "No matter." As she then grabbed a staff and said, "This little trinket of mine will make sure you are This little trinket of mine will make sure that you are non-existent." As she then grabs her staff and begins saying things in an unknown and demonic, unholy tongue. As suddenly the entire room begins shaking, as darkness begins, and as shadows and darkness begin spreading. As Arthur then says, "Merlin, now!" As suddenly sigils made of golden light form from a beautiful golden light form from underneath the woman. As she then says, "Curse you, King! Curse you, Arthur! Curse you, Merlin!" As the light appears to be holding back the shadows. As Merlin then says, "Arthur, now's your only shot. I can't hold it for much longer." As he then rushes with Excalibur in hand and plunges it directly into the evil old being's chest. As the being then falls down and says, "Curse you! I will return, and I will rip your world to nothing. This world will be mine, King Arthur. And the best part is you won't be alive to stop me. None of you or descendants will be able to either. It doesn't matter if you have that fancy power of yours, or that you got from your father either. Yes, I know it. Yes, I know that your sword acts as a capsule for the legendary power of One for All. The power of not humans, not elves, not even demons or angels. No, the power of the dragons. The Pender dragons, to be exact. And before them, it was the power forged by the gods. and I know that it is passed down from family member to family member, from parent to child, child to parent to child. And I know right now you are the wielder. However, I also know that it is sealed within this blade. I know that it is held within that blade, meaning without it, you are nothing. I will destroy that sword, or if it's the last thing I do, and then you will have no power. Then I'll return to this land and make you wish you never existed. Do you understand? As King Arthur would then say, I'll make sure that never happens. As then a sarcophagus, and as then a stone sarcophagus would rise from the ground, as the woman would then say, curse you, as she would then fall unconscious and dead. However, before, or they would put the lid of the sarcophagus, is on the staff begin to glow, as her blood had touched it. And the staff she held began to glow, as her very blood touched it. It then mixed with the dark magic, and suddenly her blood became the same color as the shadows she manipulated and the sword she wielded. As her blood began to bubble and rise. As King Arthur said, Merlin, nah! As Merlin then finished the spell and created a indestructible roof, cover for the sarcophagus. However, before they did such, they took the staff out. As Merlin then told his men, and as King Arthur then told his men, bring this sarcophagus, and keep the sarcophagus here. However, lock this throne room away. I want this entire place to be lost to history, forgotten by everyone, and sealed away. As Merlin then said, affirmative, my lord. And so the men left with the staff, trying to keep it away from her at all costs. Because dead or not, that threat terrified King Arthur and Merlin, along with the entire whole of all of the knights at the Round Table who were there. As when they left the throne room, Merlin then placed an indestructible door. And as when they left the area, Merlin placed an indestructible door. Well, no. Merlin placed many doors and locks, with all different types of locks, all across the labyrinth. But the door to the throne room, he then used a very powerful spell and ripped 7 of the largest, brightest, and colorfulest, and powerfulest of the stars of the sky, and then placed them, and then placed them each on the door. Their energy was then sealed within the door as he then ripped the 7 of a now stone and now crystallized stars out. As Merlin then said, bring these stars with the staff. per to our agreement, we already have what we came here. We already did what we came here for, so all of the items which we retrieved, no matter how powerful, must go to Japan's government. I must go to the Japanese emperor. And so the next day, and so before they left back to Europe and back to England, they left after the emperor 7 boxes and 7 mysterious chests, along with a larger 8th. Each one had written in all different languages, including Japanese, English, Greek, Spanish, Russian, and all different types. Do not open and do not use the staff. And so the emperor locked the 8 artifacts away, lost to time. Until now, that is. As we see Deku, a quirkless child who is somehow the brightest being in the world. Hold on. Walking. As he is smiling and happy. As he is, of course, has no reason to be. Or at least that's what everyone thinks. His life is terrible. The only being who cares for him is his mother. And everyone else uses him and beats him up. Of course, it was still very rare for him to have a quirk, and for a boy to have a quirk. So, it wasn't common that Deku was like this. Now, what do I mean by that? The world had changed. Only 10% of boys had the ability to gain a quirk. And only 10% of the population was boys. All women, no matter who they were born with quirks of all kinds. There had never been a quirkless woman in history, and there never would be. As we see Deku smiling, idling, and walking home, as his mother, who used to beat him, now is confused and perplexed by him. His life is terrible. It sucks. He should be wanting to end his own life, but instead he just smiles. Not even a masking smile, but a pure happy smile. One no one knows. Now, what no one understands, and not even Deku knows, is that this radiance, this purity, it is not of human origin. Oh no. Many years ago, when Inko had no child, when Inko was deemed infertile, she could not have a child. And so she cried to and prayed to the gods to have a child, even a male one. She said she didn't matter if they had a quirk or not. She just wanted a child to protect and love. However, when she got Izuku and found out he is quirkless, her wife and her husband, who had a quirk, was angry. And so he forced Inko to beat Izuku. That was until they broke up, which was when Izuku was 5. And at first she chalked it up to being, well, an idiot. Him to being, well, an idiot, a naive child. However, that purity he was blessed with, it was Deku's birth was no mere coincidence. Instead, he was born, his parents were blessed by a divine goddess of the stars. She blessed Deku with, she created Deku's soul and blessed it with a never-ending, bright, pure light. However, she did know that creating this much purity, this much untaintable light, this light that could never be dimmed, it would make her immortal. And she accepted the consequences gladfully, knowing that she created a light that not even the darkest beings, not even the void of space, not even betrayal or hatred could consume. However, of course, Rosalina, yes, the goddess's name is Rosalina. You probably know where this is going now. And as surprise, this is a Mario What If suckers. Before I said that, I wonder how many of you had guessed that. And how many of you already know who the Ancient Evil is? Please tell me in the comments before I tell you. But I've given you guys a lot of clues. A door with 7 heaven stars engraved on it, and you need 7 crystal stars to open a sealed within a gray stone sarcophagus, and comes to life, but not in the original form, like a ghost, someone or something who can possess. Yes, you all probably know, but please comment it down right now. Don't tell the others. But anyways, let's continue. As Rosalina was Deku's only friend, as she had decided, since she was no longer a goddess, she would protect Deku and at least try to make him as happy as possible. Now, we go to Deku, who is now 14. While Deku is insanely and literally infinitely pure and innocent, that also means that he is a bit too trusting. However, this trust can't be broken, even by the flames of betrayal, and even by the blades of betrayal, as this trust is like an unbreakable chain. And so, we see Deku, who is walking, as he was walking down the hallway of Aldera Junior High, which is his high school, and which is his middle school, as he sees Katsumi Bakugo, the most powerful person in the school. As she then says, Deku, hey, me and my friends were thinking of something. You see, there's this old place in the there's this old graveyard-like place we found. We'd like you to come with us. Now, obviously, Katsumi and a lot of other bullies knew that Deku was extremely innocent and extremely trusting. They decided to take advantage of this. Deku didn't even think for a moment and said, okay, Kachan, and walked with them. As the four, I'm sorry about that. As the five reached, as the five eventually reached the cemetery. As this was no ordinary cemetery, but a cemetery that was built, a cemetery for the emperor himself. All of his possessions were then taken into this place with him. And after he died, of course. As the bullies were obviously trying to scare Deku, terrify him, and make him to not want to be a hero. As Katsumi believed Deku to be a good man, a really nice man who'd make an awesome great husband. However, she didn't want him hurting himself or getting hurt or by trying to be a hero with no power. That's why the day before, she found out Deku was quirkless, she wanted to be a hero with him no matter what. But when she found out that he was quirkless, she immediately resorted to bullying the crap out of him to try and destroy his spirit. Unknown to her, he was blessed with the power to never give up. Pretty much, his determination is stronger than a Undertale genocide player who's trying to kill Sans and has died over 500 times and still is trying to kill him. Yeah. We all know the one. The dude who never gives up, even though he'll never do it. And so... Katsumi believed that this time would be her shot. That by doing this, she would terrify Deku. And he would not want to be a hero ever again. However, they did not account for the place to be very weak and flimsy. When Deku was standing on some floorboards and they were about to scare the crap out of him, the very ground, it was like an earthquake. The ground shook, and the ground beneath Deku rumbled as he fell into the dark abyss. Yes, of the graves. Katsumi shrieked in fear and said, "Guys, let's go!" And the Katsumi's minions or lackeys said, "Guys, let's go!" As Katsumi then said, "What about Deku?" As they then said, We'll go check in the morning. But let's go!" As Katsumi as Katsumi reluctantly went with the bullies. He is back to their homes. Meanwhile, with Deku, he was lost within this area, underground. Now, somehow, he was right above, and he had fallen right down into the treasure room, where he then found 8 strange-looking chests, and decided to open them. Each had a mysterious crystallized star. As he then said, "Ooh, these could be worth a fortune." Whoa. However, unknowns to Deku, Rosalina was watching him. As when she saw him fallen, she was terrified, and immediately plummeted down in the form of a golden star. As, while she is no longer a goddess, she still has at least 0.0001% of her power, or the ability to turn into her adorable little chibi star, into an adorable little white chibi star form. I mean, the adorable little yellow chibi star form. As we see her walking down, and as we see her floating and following Deku, as she then realizes where they are. As Deku opens all of the 7 normal-looking chests and sees the 7 crystallized stars, as he then says, "Holy, the person who's buried here must have been filthy rich." As he then but Deku, instead of taking the 7 stars, he leaves them alone. As he then sees the larger Earth case and opens it. Of course, Deku does not bother even reading the inscriptions, as they are covered in dust and he can't see them. Also, they're scratched up due to rats and rodents crawling around for maybe 1,000 years, and 1,000 years worth of dust. As Deku then opens the 8th and final chest, revealing a staff that looks like this. Of course, the eyes are closed, as Deku then holds it as the white eyes begin to open. As they blink, as a ominous voice comes from all around Deku and says, "Who are you? And who are you? And why have you touched me, mortal?" As Deku is confused and looks at the staff, as he then sees its eyes opened, as it then blinks and says, "You, I'm asking you a question. Who are you touching me?" As Deku then says, "I am Izuku Midoriya." As the staff then says, "Izuku Midoriya, huh? You know what? I think it's been quite a while. I think he should be dead by now, along with that sword being rusted and broken somewhere. I think you'll make an excellent puppet for my master." As Deku then says, Wait, what? As the staff begins glowing with a bright purple flame. As it then says, "This is what you get, mortal. Behold, and gaze in amazement of my legendary power. As shadows begin swirling around Deku. However, to the staff's surprise, a divine white light flashes from around Deku, as instead of turning into a shadow, Deku turns into a shadow minion or creature. Deku turns into something completely the opposite, as normally he would be black and purple. However, he's white and green, like this. As the ominous being, and as the staff then says, "What? How is that even possible?" As the staff then says, "Yo, I call all to you, you mortal. How is this even possible? How are you not corrupted by darkness? And how are you not engulfed within darkness, drowning in suffering?" As Deku then says, "What's suffering? And what's drowning?" As then the staff realized the kid was too pure to be corrupted by darkness. As the staff then said, "What? How? God, never mind." As the staff then said, "Hey, kid, look, I have a boss, a very powerful boss, who's been locked up for many, many years. What I want is for you to use me to cast a spell on those 7 gemstones, as they do not belong to the person who had taken these stones, but instead they belong to my boss. Now, I, of course, want you to use a levit and to just wave me around and say, Wingardium Leviosa. Pause. If those who know, you know. It's a reference. Type in the comments what type of reference it is. But back to the what if. As Deku then says, okay, as he then grabs the staff that he dropped and says, Wingardium Leviosa, as he points at the 7 heaven stones, and the 7 crystallized stars. As they then begin glowing, and then levitate. As the staff then says, good, very good, kid, very good. Now, what I want you to do is send those 7 stars back to my... Now, what I want you to do is send those 7 stars back to back to my boss's place, okay? All you have to do is say the words attack. All you have to do is say, from whence you came, you shall remain. Again, another reference. It's not completed, but for those who know, you know. Type what type of reference it is in the comments. Your clue is both references come from movies, while one has an entire series of up to 8 movies, while the other is only 1 movie. But there is a rock band, but there is a rock band in the title's name. As Deku then says, okay, as he then says, from whence you came, you shall remain. As the 7 crystallized stars begin glowing. Hold on. As the 7 stars, which look like this, begin to glow and swirl around as they then levitate, as since they're already levitating, they then fly out of the grave and over to, and as they begin, and as they then go to where UA is, and blast through the roof, drilling downward. As we go to Principal Nezu as he is sipping some tea. As he then hears some sort of noise, as he then says, "Huh? What could that be?" As he then goes on on his monitors and sees 7 crystallized objects crashing through the ceiling and drilling down underneath UA. As he then says, "What? How is that even possible?" As we go to the castle, to underneath UA, which is the castle. As the stars then begin breaking through and begin flying through all of the locks and doors, till they get to the very last one. Hold on. As they then reach the final door, which looks like this, as the 7 stars would then go into slots. As suddenly, the magic from the star, the energy from that was sealed within the door, would then be drained back in the stars. As then the seals on the door would then be removed. As before, the 7 stars could fly off, something from within, and then drag them in. And something from within the door dragged the 7 stars into the throne room. It then drained the stars of all energy, and then threw on the ground 7 normal stone stars, not crystallized, but blank gray stone. As we then see a creature who looks like, hold on, this, rise out of the sarcophagus, as she then says, "Finally, for so long I have waited. What's this? My staff is awake. Very well then." As she would then float out of the castle and would then teleport to where Deku is. As we see Deku, who is holding the staff, as the staff then says, my boss is coming. Okay, now, what you have to do is just wait till my boss gets here, then hand me over to her when she says, give it to me. Got it?" As Deku would then say, got it?" As the staff would then say, good. You know, kid, I'm actually starting to like you. You don't really oppose much. You don't really ask any questions. And, well, let's face it, you're one of the stronger people who's used me. After all, you think it's easy to cast a levitation and navigation spell? Heck no. And hell no. Hold on. As the staff then said, "Oh, hell no. It's extremely hard to even cast a levitation spell. I should know. After all, it was increasingly hard for the last 17 people who used me. Of course, these were normal mortals who couldn't even use any regular magic. these normal mortals tried to topple that emperor. Now before them was my original user and creator, my boss, you could say. They're very powerful, and she's very powerful, and she created me quite some time ago. In fact, aside from her, you're the strongest user I have. I've ever had. As suddenly a dark portal would then open up out of the floor and out of the wall, as the staff would then say, "The boss is here, alright. Look as nice as possible." As Deku would then say, okay. As he would then try to as he would then try to fix what is now his white and green and neon green glowing shadowy hair. What I mean by shadowy is it's kind of wispy, like when you move a shadow on a wall. And like when you move your hand around in front of a light and it hits the wall. Like that kind of moving. As suddenly a woman who looks like this appears out of the portal and says, "Boy, you do not know the very forces you hold within your palms. Give it to me." As Deku then says, "Alright, here you go." And hands, but right before Deku can even answer, the tiny yellow chibi star, which has been following him around, then turns into its humanoid form, revealing Rosalina, who then says, "Stop it, you demon! And stop it, you dark creature! I won't let you do this, not again. After all, you almost succeeded in your plans 1,000 years ago. It's only thanks to King Arthur and the other knights of the Round Table, along with Merlin, that you were sealed away in the first place." As the Shadow Queen, who I'm just gonna name Shadiria, because we have no clue what her OG name is, then looked at Rosalina and said, "Yes. Very well then. You look, after all, I can sense that you're strong. You aren't even a mortal, or you weren't a mortal." "Rosalina, is it?" "The legendary star goddess. The one who, I'm the one who, let's see, yes. The one who created and who gave Merlin his powers by teaching him the ancient arts of magic, along with me and Morgana's master. And also, you're me and Morgana's master." As Rosalina would then say, "Yes, indeed, that is me." As Shadiria would then say, "Very well then. I did not intend to harm you, and to cause harm to you, Master, but you leave me no choice. And besides, I can't really do much in this form. Without a physical body, of course." As she would then begin wrapping around, and he would then begin wrapping around Rosalina, looking somewhat like this, except replace Peach with Rosalina. Until she then looked like somewhat like this. As she then said, "Now boy, please give me the staff." As Deku then said, okay. Now Deku, still with the same confidence and pureness, gave her the staff. As she then said, "All right, now tell me, tell me, why have you not turned this boy into a servant yet? I thought you would have done that by now." As the staff would then say, "Well, that's the thing, boss. Well, that's the thing, master. I tried, but instead of cursing him, but instead of turning him into a shadow, minion, well, as you can see, he is white and neon green, right? Well, he didn't look like that before." As the staff would then create a past image of Deku and would say, "This is what he looked like before. I tried to corrupt him, and he looked like, and then he turned into this." As the Shadow Queen would then begin to connect the dots, as she would then say, "So, my master used all of her power to literally took all of her immortality away from her very self, took all of her power away, just to make this boy into a unquenchable light, a indestructible, uncoverable light? If he is truly that hard to dim, if his light is truly that hard to dim, then the boy will stay with us. After all, he would be too pure, naive, and innocent to even know, what evil is. I presume he wants to be a warrior or hero of this time period, to help the innocent and the evil." As she would then say, "Very well then." As she would then spawn two huge black and yellow chibi stars, and she would then say, "You two, I want you to do something special for me. Got it?" As they then said, "Yes, boss. Yes, boss. What would you like us to do?" As she would then say, "Go and begin the process of finding two humans. After all, I can't just have one minion, and after all, I can't just have one faithful servant. No. I need more. And so, you two will go and find me two other women, and will bring them here and turn them into personal shadow minions. Got it?" As the two stars would then look at each other and would nod, as they would then fly out of the grave and out of the cemetery. As the Shadow Queen would then look at Deku and would say, "Now, boy, it seems you're pretty powerful. It seems that you're pretty powerful, as what my staff has told me. Aside from me, you're the strongest of its users. How would you like to learn some magic and come with me?" As Deku would then say, "Okay." And he'd say, "Sure, I'd love to." As he would then blindly follow her. As we go to the Shadow Queen's thoughts, as she then says, my. This boy might be an undimmable light, and extremely innocent. But, over time, I'll make it my mission to dim him. To corrupt him, but not into a minion. No. He interests me too much for that. He's already very powerful with magic. Of course, he doesn't know how to use magic correctly. If my guess is correct, Merlin's death, and Merlin, along with fighting Morgana, and when Merlin fought Morgana in the final battle, they must have created a giant explosion of magic, thus creating 18 cells of blood that would eventually open over time into abilities for humans. However, it would not count as magic. Instead, it would count as a whole new ability, she then thought. As she would then think again, very well then, I've decided what the fate of this boy is. He will be after all, I am a queen, and I would pretty much like him, equal to rule aside for all eternity. As she would then think to herself, this Izuku Midoriya, from what my staff has told me, will make the perfect mate. However, of course, I will have to give those who try to take him from me a not so easy fate. As the Shadow Queen would then say, well, we got some business to do. Izuku, now come with me. She would then open a portal and the two would disappear. Now that is the end of part 1 of What If Deku Was. And if Deku awakened a ancient evil. I hope you all like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. And I think I should have notifications on. If I do, please slap that notification bell to the point where it looks like one of the cat bells from Mario 3D World. I don't know why or how, but just do it. Also, today I will be releasing another part of this. So please like, share, comment, subscribe. Goodbye, see you later, and skadoosh.